What were you thinking getting married at 17?
I had gotten pregnant. Back then, it was very shameful. He was unfaithful. There were some threatening situations there, so I left him. It sort of felt very heavy and like it was heaped on me.
We had a homeless ministry. We had a strong core group. But when COVID hit, my core group began to fall apart. You know, one day we just made the decision, I'm going to shut it down.
How did you talk to God about that? Paula Cardenas got married at the age of 17 years old. Then she is struggling with all kinds of things in her life. She is sitting with friends in a car, and she met Jesus in the most unusual way I probably have ever heard. So you're in for a treat. Is Jesus real? Can he be real in your life? And what are you going to do about that? Paula, welcome.
Thank you.
So you're with us. We're a reality show, so we're dealing into the reality of life.
Okay.
What were you thinking getting married at 17?
Sort of like, oh my God, I hope this works.
Really? You really thought that?
Either that or I may have felt like I was jumping off a cliff. You know, at 17, your brain isn't fully developed, so you don't always make good decisions. Mm-hmm. And but this was the only, at the time, viable decision.
Why?
Well, I had gotten pregnant. And so there was all that to deal with, and I refused to abort the baby.
Were they trying to make you abort?
It was suggested, but at the time they would have had to fly me out of country to accomplish it because it was illegal.
All right.
And so, but I refused. I refused the
So
abortion.
the second option was getting married.
Yeah, to get married. You know, back then, Barbara, when I was 17, it was very shameful to get pregnant. And, you know, the area where I grew up was fairly small. And both our families were well known in the area. So it sort of felt very heavy and like it was heaped on me, you know, and
So
like that was the only way.
you chose to keep the baby, which is fantastic. You chose life. And then you were pressured in to get married for both sides, which you even yourself thought was the right thing.
I did think it was the right thing.
Did you know Jesus at the time?
Oh, heck no. I wasn't brought up in church at all.
Yeah.
The only thing I knew really about God was there was one God. He had a son named Jesus who was crucified for my sins, whatever those were. I didn't even know what those were. And that he rose again. I knew those things. And I knew that church was boring and I would probably maybe ask for God to come to me when I was a little old lady on the porch and couldn't do anything. That's all I knew.
That is funny.
It was all I knew. I thought Christians were all that I knew, because both my grandmothers were Christians. I mean, really sold out to God. All I knew, everybody in church was a little old lady with a flowered polyester dress and blue permed hair.
Blue perm, blue? Like blue?
Yeah, you know,
Blue.
like blue. Like
Blue.
Yeah,
You like blue?
Yeah, I love blue. I just didn't want blue permed hair. But anyway, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
You know, about God, and it wasn't at all personal. You know, I didn't know that He would be active, or could be, or wanted to be in our lives, like He is.
So you ended up getting married. God wasn't part of the marriage.
Oh no.
What happened?
Well, we were young, and obviously, there was just too much pressure, and we made some bad decisions. And
Like what?
well, partying all the time. You know, I loved to party, and so that became pretty much a way of life. Which of course was very destructive because we didn't really set, you know, any goals.
And
of
was
what
that
we
even
wanted.
that partying while you were pregnant with the baby as well?
No, No, there wasn't.
Right.
There
it was
wasn't.
after that.
Yeah, there was no drinking, smoking, or drugs or anything like that when I was carrying the baby, who, by the way, turned out to be a very strong man of God. And
So you're here. The marriage is probably starting to fall apart at this point.
yeah, he was unfaithful, and so there was a lot of betrayal involved, which is too bad. Really, he had a lot of potential. He was a genius, you know, and so but it just.
Now you're a single mom with a child, especially in those days. It was usually the mother that had the child most of the time. So as a single mom, now you have to work. Now you're stepping in that whole new arena. And today, for single moms, because I was a single mom for 2 years, it is a challenge. It's even now today, it's a challenge because you have to do with one income what you could have done with two, normally spoken. So as you're going through all that, did you cry out to Jesus and did you run out to the blue permed ladies in the church?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I left the man I was married to. I left him. There were some threatening situations there, and so I left him. And I'd called my dad. Actually, how old was I? 18, almost 19, you know, and in a life-threatening situation. And so I called my dad, and he was there in about 15 minutes and picked me up and took me to my parents' house. And that's where, you know, I began my real life with concentrating as a mother and, you know, that kind of thing.
Good for your dad. Good for your dad.
Oh, yeah. He was not a mess around type person at all.
So now you're there. So what brought you to Jesus? How did that start? Did you go back to partying?
No, I didn't. I stayed home and I was taking care of the house for my mother and, you know, doing a lot of cooking and cleaning and, you know, of the house and that sort of thing. So anyway, and raising, you know, my son. So the man I was married to kept on in the drug life, which I wanted to leave, and he kept on in the drug life, and the drugs that he took he became addicted to them, and it was awful because I could see him disintegrating before my eyes. It was terrible. I worked with which I guess you would call a volunteer organization. And it sounds so silly now, but if a person, and it had a name, which I will not repeat, but if a person called for help, then we would get a team together. Like, say, she said, well, my daughter is taking drugs and won't quit. Will you come counsel her? Well, we had counselors on staff and help, you know, for people in those situations. So we would send a team. Well, this one night, I went with the team, and these were people I didn't really know. You know, like they weren't you and I. They weren't friends. But I went in the car, and then we got called to this place where this girl was in crisis.
And this is a Christian organization or not?
No, it was not.
Okay.
It was not a Christian organization. In fact, well, it was pretty much the opposite in almost every way you can think of. But anyway, which I didn't realize the harm at that time. So we were driving on the freeway to go in answer as a team, 2 men in the front of the car, and I was in the back. And it was summer, the windows were down, and I was sitting in the car, and I heard a voice call my name.
Did the front row
Very
hear
clearly.
the voice too?
No.
Just you?
I heard my name called, just like this. Paula. And I looked in the front seat, and I thought, well, they must have called me. But they were just chatting and listening to the radio. And so I sat back, and I thought, well, I'm hearing things. And I heard my name called again, a little bit louder. And I thought,
How much time was there between?
just a few seconds, maybe 5 or 10, 15 seconds, I don't know. Enough to try and analyze things and really get nowhere with it. So I sat back and I heard my name called again, Paula. I thought, well, I grew up in this community, so I thought, well, someone from another car is,
You're looking around.
I did,
Yeah.
this way and that way, and there was no one there. And I thought, well, and why this thought came to me, I thought, well, maybe it's God.
But you didn't have a relationship with God.
No.
Maybe it was God giving you the thought of thinking maybe
Kinda
it's
like
God.
tapping me on the shoulder, sort of thing. I thought, well, maybe it's God. And I thought, well, okay, I'm going to answer him.
Just like that.
If he calls.
Did you believe in him at the time?
Well, I knew God was real,
Okay.
but I don't know if I guess that's belief. I knew God was real, and I did believe Jesus was his son.
Yeah. Okay.
So he called me again.
A third time.
I sat back and kind of waited, what's going to happen?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
In the car while they're listening in the front seat to the radio with the windows down. Did he call again?
Yes, he did. He said, Paula. And I answered him, I should have brought my hanky. I answered him and I said, yes, Lord.
How did you know how to do that?
I do not know. Maybe hanging around with my grandmothers for, I don't know.
You had praying grandmas.
Oh, yes, very much so.
So you say, yes, Lord. This is almost funny. You say, yes, Lord, and then what?
Well, and then he said, if you follow me, I will give you what you need. And I thought, well, because my life was in such tumult, it took me 2 years, even after I left my husband, to decide to divorce him. So I was in limbo. I was in tumult. I knew I couldn't stay where I was, but I didn't know what to do. And I had no peace. I had no peace.
So the Lord shows up in the back of a car because of praying grandmas and the destiny on your life and talks to you like Samuel did out of the Bible.
I think that was, pretty much.
Same reaction. Who is this? Did your life change at that moment?
Well, when I said, yes, Lord, I will follow you, probably a lot of people experience this, but did you ever work with Elmer's glue when you were a kid? Some sort of glue, and you get it on your fingers, and you pull it off, and you can feel that sensation. That's how my whole body felt.
It changed and transformed you at that moment.
At that moment, in the backseat of a car with no Christians there, I didn't know anything.
How long did it take before you went to a church after that and got to know that Jesus better?
Well, I have to say, I became voracious. It was like he planted something in me that could not be satisfied. My appetite for him, to know him, and to find out who is he?
And you found
is he?
all that out.
I bet I went to church 8 times a week, probably.
Paula, thank you so much for sharing this with us and for being on the show. And it's good. God is real, and he wants to be part of your life. 855-515-5550 or go to barbtv.org. Get to know him.
Are you ready to inspire and change lives? You can make a difference for a better tomorrow. God created you for more. You matter. There is an unprecedented pandemic of forgotten hearts. You can bring hope and answers. Inmates feel alone, afraid, and abandoned. Now is the time to find, to stand, to change, and transform lives. God loves them unconditionally. Adopt a Champion empowers inmates to be a champion within themselves, within their family, and in the world. There are 3 ways you can help. Become part of our team, pray, and donate. Together, we can make a difference. You can start today. Go to adoptachampion.org.
Sam Smith was ministering to the homeless and had his own church specifically. Working with the homeless can be a challenge, but also a great gift for people that are so hungry for the more and for the extra, that feel in such a devastated place. But then COVID hit and everything took a turn. How do you handle something when things completely change on you, when you're knowing that you're doing God's work? So Sam, tell me a little bit about this church.
Oh, well, gee, I was ordained in 1990, and there was two of us, Pastor Tim Moore and myself. And with that, we started out just street ministry. We ended up preaching to the homeless for 2 years out in the rain.
In Reading?
Yes, in Reading.
Rain in Reading?
Yes.
Okay.
So full season, 2 years. Then we finally rented a spot right there under the Lorenz Hotel. And we began feeding breakfast and having church. When you feed breakfast, everybody comes. And so we had a homeless ministry there, which in about 2 years got us evicted. And so we were evicted out of there.
Why were you evicted? Because you were under a
Because of the
hotel?
clientele that we were bringing into the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when we were evicted, our ministry flip-flopped overnight. We ended up down on Butte Street next to the Thai Cafe, and we were there for about 20 years.
20 years?
Yes, ministering, but we became drug and alcohol and recovery. We had 5 recovery homes running at one time. And so we went through that, and eventually the other pastor got us involved with the state, wanting, to bring in and do the teaching, so that they could send us court cases to help break the drug habit.
Okay, slow down. All right, so court case is people that are sent by the court to you?
Yes.
To help you into your homes, like a halfway home?
They were to come in for training to be recovered.
Okay, like kind of
Because
the
we-
AA meetings,
Kind of, yes.
or Celebrate Recovery. Okay.
So, but we were running about 30% success ratio if we keep them in church for a year. But when the state got involved and started sending us all these ex-cons, whatever they were, then they mandated what we could teach. We had to accept everybody that they sent, and that kind of destroyed the ministry. That's when I stepped out and started my own church
Okay.
and separated from that ministry.
Now, what brought you to want to minister to the homeless to begin with? There is usually a reason. Often people ask me, why are you doing prison ministry while you never were actually an inmate? And I can't explain it, but it just
fell
works.
into it
What do you mean?
because we started out on the streets evangelizing when Reading had the cruise, when everybody was making circles around Main Street and down California, and we were out there ministering until midnight to anybody that we could talk to. We had a worship leader. His joy was to go down to the bars, stand outside, and play worship music. And of course, all the drunks would come out. Then we got to minister to them. But my personality is not evangelistic. So,
I know.
So
You're
I'm
like a
tagging
teacher.
along, and you need prayer? Go see Sam. You need this? Go talk to him. And so I have always been a support behind other ministries. I work very good as a number 2 person.
Okay.
And so I know that now. But then I stepped out and started my own because I had a foundation that were dissatisfied with the way the state was mandating everything. So with that, my core group followed, or we all agreed
Your
to it.
core
Let's put it-
homeless group.
No, a core of, we had prophets, we had leaders,
Wow, great.
we had a strong core group, kind of a home fellowship. That's what we started with. But the homeless started following us. And with that, everything was going pretty good. And then my core group began to fall apart.
Why?
So, life happens. The prophet ended up with family problems. She stepped in to help her daughter. And another one moved to another community. And little by little, and pretty soon it was my wife and I. And she did not appreciate that style of ministry. It was not her.
Mm-hmm.
And when all of her friends left, she left.
That left you.
That's left me as a one-man ministry.
Now, how many people were in your congregation?
It would vary anywhere from a low of about 20 to a high of about 50 or 60.
Now, you, the non-supportive
Right.
pastor evangelist, that's not really an evangelist,
Right.
and 20 to 50 homeless?
Not homeless, because I had a foundation of people who wanted to minister there. They were my financial base.
Okay.
All of them as old as I am. But when COVID hit, they stayed home because who's my clientele? The homeless. The homeless wear no masks. They came as they were, but it scared my older financial base. And when that happened, I was not meeting the rent
Right.
with the offerings. But I had a family of homeless that was their family. And to close it down hurt them. And it hurt me. So all of this was part of it.
So during COVID, it shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
And what were some of the testimonies that came out of that ministry that you did for all those years?
Oh my gosh. I still have people come up to me, Costco, Winco, and give me a big hug and thank me for all the work we did in their lives. And I'm thinking, who are you? I don't remember. Oh, I was in such and such a house, 20 years ago. And I still meet a few of them on the streets, if I'm downtown, that I've ministered to. I taught them life skills. I taught them how to study the Word. I taught them how to get a hold of God. And they got a hold of that, and we had a potluck afterwards. So we had a family group there of about 20, basically single people, some street people. I had 3 ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and an enforcer off the streets and all sorts of things.
What's an enforcer?
He collected drug money.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You
I know a
are-
lot of names, but I did not know that one. All right, so all that's happening.
Yes.
Now, you're being shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when you stepped kind of in a hole, frustrated, not knowing how to go from there?
Well,
How
that
did you
was,
How did you talk to God about that?
I don't know whether I did or not.
Ah.
I was just so frustrated that, one day we just made the decision, I'm going to shut it down, rather than go for a lease on the storefront that I had running. So that's what I did.
So
And they were all mad at me.
all the homeless. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Homeless, singles.
And you didn't feel like let's just meet in a park instead?
Nope,
Or
I'd had it.
you were done. You
I
were
was
just
done
done.
at that point. But at that same time, that's when my wife come down sick.
Oh, okay.
She come down with lung cancer. Never smoked, never did anything. She was basically clean. Where did it come from? We don't know. But over those next 2 or 3 years in that process, so that was part of my shutting it down as well.
So the Lord helped you transition in something that was really good to step into the new season, to help your wife to go through a season.
Right.
And you believe in, so do I, healing and deliverance. And yet your wife was not healed?
Correct.
That sucks.
Yes, it does.
It really does. So there are a lot of viewers right now that know exactly what you're talking about, and they're stuck in that moment. How did you overcome, and what advice could you give them how to move
wow.
forward?
Well, being a pastor for 30 some odd years, I have seen a lot of death. That one was too close to home. But, and I'm praying for her constantly. And other people were praying for her. But I do not know her mindset.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know whether she had the faith to receive the prayers that we were releasing.
That's important.
Yes.
That's very
because
important.
I would try to get her to, she would repeat after me, but to do it on her own, she was not fighting.
Right.
And so that was part of my frustration. And so, I did what I could.
Right.
But it took her from the time she recognized she had a problem till her death was about 3.5 years.
Okay.
And so I watched her go downhill, 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 downhill.
Hard to see.
And of course, she's been out of church for 5 years just because she didn't want to be in the homeless ministry.
Right.
No friends for her there. And so in that process, little by little, most of my grieving and crying was done before she died.
Okay. So
So,
if somebody
yes.
is in that spot, what you're saying right now, and I know you're solid with Jesus, there is no doubt in my mind you're solid with Jesus, what advice could you give him in like 30 seconds?
Hang in there,
Hang in
for
there.
number one,
Okay.
because it was a covenant relationship.
What do you mean by that?
Till death do us part.
Okay.
And so, little by little, from being just a supportive husband to a helper to a nursemaid practically, all the way through.
Yeah.
But in that process, she wanted to go back to church. She refused to go to the ones that I liked, so I found Faith Assembly out there on Airport Road, where she enjoyed the worship. That was my open door to
Fantastic.
get her back into church, but that get me a connection there.
And that's what you did. And yet today, God fully restored you teaching,
Oh, yes.
helping, ministering, and delivering people.
Right.
So all the gifts he gave you, you're still carrying out. It's just in a
Oh,
little
yes.
bit of a different way today. Sam, thank you so much for
Different, right?
sharing.
Different location.
When life doesn't always go the way we want to, and yet how God even brought your wife back to church in the end, or not to church is church, but to God himself.
Right. That was the key.
So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Very
And
good.
I know some of you would love prayer right now because you're struggling with things. 855-515-5550 or go to barbtv.org. God wants to help you. Let us know.
I started working with men that were having struggles with different things, whether it was masturbation or porn. I went through a similar thing with my wife with a masturbation issue. Getting to see God for his true light was really what helped me to get saved.
So you have people that are dealing with this problem. How do you help them? It's everywhere.
I rebuilt my company when I got divorced. I did it from 0 to 7 digits in 2 years, and I signed my company over to Jesus and let him be my CEO.
When you did that, what changes started to take place?